Welcome to Masterclass number 8. I think everybody knows me. I'm Trent Booth, and our guest today is Mike Abramowitz. Excited to have Mike on here. In fact, boy, we almost had Mike week 1 when before Mike was going to be teaching at SLC itself, the general session, we actually were going to have him for the DM event. I'm not even sure if Mike knows that. The thinking was that there's so much content that we really wanted our best and brightest to be able to bring and be able to help us to go deep. Mike's initial proposal was not just sales meetings, weekly team meetings like you saw at SLC. It was team meetings as well as staff meetings. And what a necessary topic. And yet we knew in 30 minutes that was going to be real hard to even just give like a teaser trailer even. So today we are going to do the deep dive here. What I love about this informal format is this is a place for your Q&A. So we're going to start with the questions that you might have from SLC for Mike Abramowitz. Let me give a brief update. An intro here. Mike Abramowitz is leading and looks like he's the guy for 3 Silver Cup races, the Elite League, the district race, and new business as well for districts. In fact, number 3 overall in the entire company is Mike Abramowitz and that Tampa team. He is the author of, I believe, 2 books. There could be a third, Mike. Is that one coming up?
There's 9.
There's 9?
Yeah, but there's 2 bestsellers, but 9
I love
total.
it. There we go. I'm aware of Grab Tomorrow. I just posted that again in the Facebook BMDM group. So if you're looking to get a copy of that, this is the time of year for this type of book. It's a workshop. It's goal setting. And as you look back on what's been 2020 and look into 21, this is a great time of year to consider what are you excited about for 21. So I hope Mike talks a little bit about that as well. It's just a 75-pager, and it was available at one point for free. I believe it's a nominal charge at this point, but worth the investment, and folks, really not expensive. So Mike started originally in New Jersey, up here where I live now. And in fact, he started the year that I moved to New Jersey, which is fired up. Then eventually moved to Tampa, finished school there, has been a district manager after going branch a couple times, and was the number 3 new district in 2008, his first year there. And the last bio I have for him, it says it's got to be $8 million in sales. I'm guessing you're knocking on the door of 10 if you haven't already eclipsed that, Mr. Abramowitz. So not sure if I want to burn
14
14. Oh, the district. Yeah, nicely done. It's been a good couple of years here, man, and not done, obviously. So, hey, without further ado, we're just going to introduce Mike Abramowitz. He is your Masterclass number 8, and we're so excited to have you join us today. Thanks for bringing the heat, Mr. Abramowitz, in advance.
Hey, this is a pleasure. You know, it's been fun getting a chance to have conversations with several of you, and a few of you I wasn't able to have conversations with, because if that's all I did was just talk to you all, then we probably wouldn't be number 1 in 3 categories. So I got to make sure that I give the goods today, so that way I can handle everything that any of you all need to set up your best year ever for 2021 and finish off this year the right way.
So as we get rolling here, Mike, we did kick around the idea of having either kind of a rehash of SLC, which was weekly team meetings. As we connected here, you actually said staff meetings are even better than the weekly team meetings. Why don't you unpack that for us a little bit? Because I love that you cover team meetings anyways at SLC with only 30 minutes, which we can rewatch. And as I think the intro had there, watching Mike Abramowitz in real life, he speaks at 1.5x. So it's like if you watch it at 0.5, you should be able to catch the SLC rehash. Mike Abramowitz, tell us a little bit about your philosophy around staff meetings. Why are these so fired up for you?
Well, that's where everything begins. Everything begins in the staff meeting. So everything that you saw at SLC in the team meeting is premeditated and rehearsed already on my staff meeting. So I run my staff meeting on Tuesday mornings. So after the sales reports are done, and after, everything is, the sales report is done on Monday, so we can do sales, but I like Tuesday morning because it also allows us to influence Tuesday and Wednesday recruiting to try to create that last surge. And also just button up anything we need to before the team meeting, along with before the training seminar. So I used to, most of my career, ran staff meetings on Sunday nights. We used to do those marathon of staff meetings. We would do like 9 p.m. on Sunday night after the paycheck meeting, and we would be there till like midnight, 1 a.m. And then the whole office cleaning and all that. Like those are disastrous, and it just wasn't good for morale. It wasn't productive. It was a lot of discussion and talking, and thinking back to how much time we were spending and very little results we were getting. It was just such a waste. So what I've been really crafting for the last, I would say intentionally, maybe 12 to 18 months is an intentional 90-minute to 2-hour session. It was originally 2 hours. I got that down to 90 minutes, sometimes even less, of intentional conversation with my staff where I understand the outcomes before I go into the event. So before I can prepare, in order to go into that 90-minute meeting with my staff, I might spend and invest 2 to 3 hours of my time preparing for that 90-minute session with my staff. Sometimes more. I mean, I've done staff meetings where I'll prepare for 5 or 6 hours before I go into my 90-minute session with my staff. So with that being said, I have my staff meeting slides, and I had several of you say, hey, Mike, can I just get all your slides? No, not because I'm selfish and I don't like you. It's because it would rob you of the creativity that you need to have for yourself to have autonomy of your business. Because if you try to run my business, well, you're not going to authentically lead your staff or lead your people. I will provide you the tools today. I will give you, peel back the curtain. I'll show you and help you think like Mike. But I don't want you to be Mike. I want you to think like Mike and then adopt some of these principles and philosophies and bring them into your businesses. So I'm going to bounce around to a few slides, and then I'll come up for some air and just be able to show you maybe some things that maybe can help. So I'm going to take it back to last year this time before I show you some of the cool things that we're doing right now, because all the cool things we're doing right now, it's like, oh my God, that's so cool. But that shit came from lots of trial and error and whatnot. So let me go ahead. I'll share my screen here, and so this would be last fall. So last fall, going into a staff meeting, this would be one of my first slides of a staff meeting going into last fall. So I did my business plan last fall, and this is what we came up with. How did I come up with these numbers? I looked at previous quantums and previous campaigns, and I spent countless hours of figuring out, like, okay, what are we able to do? What are we able to get accomplished? What are the wants and what nots of the fall? And again, this is in no particular order. I'll just share. These are some of the. So like we last fall, this is December. We would pull up the total report. Last December and trying to see how we finished the year. This is a recruiting report last December on how we were pacing. This is a report that I would use each week, and we would look at year-to-date top 25. There's someone that needs to be muted. I don't know who that is, but let's see whose that is. All right, perfect. So cool. So we will pull up these reports. So fall campaign compared to year-to-date. And our mission was to what could we get that number 25 rep to? This is last year. So last year we got that number 25 rep to 15K for the year on our district team. So going into 2021 or 2020 rather, we were like, how can we move that needle? How can we move that needle? What could we do to be intentional with moving the number 25 rep in our office? And also that's for the year, and for the campaign was the number 20 rep. Also, those that are highlighted are those on staff. So this was last fall. Monitoring staff selling, monitoring number 20 for the campaign and number 25 for the year. So that was a theme last year. Last year was virtual demo campaign to date sales. That was a big focus that we had last year. So we were very prepared for the COVID situation. Quantums, this was January of last year. January, so you look at some of these numbers, look at 2017, Mike Abramowitz. No one knew my name 2017, apparently. We did 6K in new business for the entire month of January, just so y'all are paying attention to this. And then 2018, we did 49K, so the power of 1 year. And then 2019, we did 23K in new business. So this is what we were kind of preparing and looking at and how we were launching and what we were recruiting. But this is what I'll look at for myself before I go into a staff meeting. I used to look at this with my staff, but it's like, I don't need to look at this with a bunch of 18, 19-year-old kids. I need to look at this with myself and come up with some solutions before I go into that meeting with my staff to protect their time, and also use my creative thought process, because they don't really have the answers that I need to answer for myself before I go into the meeting. So this was like a January program last year. These are some of the questions, I guess: January program recruiting, January program sales. These are some of our projections that we created for ourselves. And then again, had our business plan of like, this is what we wanted to do for the fall. And I remember going into that staff meeting and saying, well, this is what we got done for the fall. So this is, we're able to accomplish all of these things. AM candidates. So we created in the fall 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fall AM candidates. Jessica Shannon's now a branch candidate. Alexis is a 30K rep, and these 3 dropped off. But that's who we created last fall. But January program, we scooped up a few other people. Rochelle is now a district manager candidate. Eric was an AM this summer, and the rest kind of dropped off. But then we recruited enrolled a bunch of other people. These are some branches now and senior branches going into the situation. So it's kind of cool to look back on some of this and see again what we were able to create. So some of this is irrelevant to you, but I could come up for some air for just a moment from that vantage point. But I wanted to kind of show you what is my mindset going into this. This was November last year, November 1st to the 30th, of just highlighting again assistant manager selling during the push, during the push that we had and during November itself. We had an October contest that we threw out with different payouts. And again, you could screenshot any of these. I'll go through them again if you want me to screenshot any of them. Just so you could see what we're doing in our staff meetings last year. So this is non-sexy stuff, in my opinion. None. Hopefully, it might be. Maybe you're looking at some of this stuff. You're like, oh my gosh, that is really sexy. Wow, Mike. That's really hot. That's really good stuff. If that's the case, no big deal. That's cool. But what did I give you? Campaign to date reports, quantum reports, business plan, projections, goals. That's a lot of what I'm doing before I go into my staff meeting. So Trent, maybe there's a question or
I've got a couple questions here, and I will go to the chat in just a moment. So if you have follow-up questions or points of clarification you're looking for from Mike, this is your opportunity. Drop those in the chat. So super basic. Who attends the staff meeting on a Tuesday morning?
So who attends are anyone who's on pay, office pay. And then once in a while, if I know the topic I'm talking about, I'll invite any AMI or any AM candidate that I think I want them exposed to the content. So like 2 weeks ago or maybe 3 weeks ago now, we were unveiling the Capture the Cup push, the fall classic push that we have. And I had one of my new AMIs. I was like, I want to invite you to this meeting so you could see how we set up a push. And she was like a fly on the wall special guest. So sometimes I'll invite them, but anyone who's on office pay shows up.
And if you were to say a number roughly, it's a dozen people, 8, how many do you have non-summer?
Right now we have, probably be easier. I think there's 10 right now.
It looked like about the numbers you were tracking. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I have 10 on staff.
That's fun.
But I see the thing is right now, I don't use just the vector pay. I do pay out of pocket by the hour for 2 of my assistants, because I'm testing on how long certain things take. So for specifically my recruiting, for running interviews, and also our SMRA department. So I'm paying them by the hour. So that way I have accurate data and they are tracking to the T how much time they're spending. So I'm paying them $15 an hour to figure some stuff out for me.
Very cool. So a couple thoughts here. One, we typically have a disclaimer. We'll have it now. That is no changes without consulting your division manager. You're going to hear some awesome stuff here today. And by the way, you might be responsible for bringing it to your division, and there might be a change because your division manager signs off on it. But once again, disclaimer, no changes without checking in with your DVM first, of course. That said, You said 2 to 3 hours to plan for a meeting that might last 90 minutes. Can you go a little deeper there? So you've shown us the
Sure.
reports. Like, what is it that takes that type of time? Because I imagine that has got to be, in some cases, people are spending 15 minutes maybe updating their slides. I don't even think you're the one that's updating the slides. So break that down for
I
us.
do, I do, I do update every slide. I
Okay.
am very intentional with the slides because I use the slides to take photos of them to post in WhatsApp following every staff meeting. So that way we could revisit and document the content that we just talked about. So this would be, I just went through some of my staff meeting slides right here. So this would be an example, looking up a lot of the numbers. So this was fall pace. So this is last year's staff meeting. I don't know when this would be,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I went over this. So 39 more launched and 3 more classes. So this would be 3 more classes left of the fall. So about where we're at right now.
Yeah.
So this would be last year around this time, how we're pacing with sales, how many new MITs we've developed, PR set. So looking up these numbers, that doesn't take much time.
Mm-hmm.
But I look up those numbers every week. I go to, orders for Vector Connect for the campaign, and then PR set on Vector Live and, launch. And then breaking down, okay, subtracting the numbers based from our goals. That takes, again, a little bit of time, not too much, but just knowing the numbers there. And then breaking it down even further of how much that is per launch, what that looks like. Again, not too much time, just a little bit of math. And then it's like, okay, let's do some creative thinking here. This is where some of the time comes into play of like, how do we launch 13 a week? So how many do we need set? Again, it's a little bit of math. The TLA, how do we target? Who are we targeting? Who are we focused on? What's the team breakdown? So staff and key staff is 8K, key staff and team, key staff candidate team plus launch. So that's where we might break down the whole team and break that down and do some math. So then this is going back a year ago when it was my first fall in my territory. But then I broke it down even further. So this is where I would be ready for my staff meeting for them to be involved in this process.
Mm-hmm.
So I would break down everything for them here. And then it's like, how do we sign 3 per interview? When are we going to go to campus? This was last fall. When are we going to send our Instagram messages and this was like pre-SMRAs in my office. We didn't even have SMRAs at this point, but that's, at this point, the conversation would be like, who do we hire to help us with this? When are they going to send their messages? Who are we targeting for MIT combos, managers in training? And then the 28 reps on Q, who's managing them? How are we reaching out to these people? Then we'll pull up reports. And again, this slide takes a little bit of time, nothing crazy, but just pulling up our manager efficiency report. This is where we're at last week. We had 17 show for interviews. So how are we going to sign 3 per interview if we only have 17 show up? So how do we move that needle? Signed 5 in 10 days, 16 set for training right now. Like, how could we move the business to be able to sign 3 per interview? What do we need to do? And that's where we would open up for some discussion because I want my managers to think like Mike. I want them to, I don't want to present them the answers. I want to create the frame for them to think, and then create the platform and the space for them to have that creative thought process with me. So these were some things that we updated in a staff chat, I guess, about some ideas of what we could do. And then we have like, this is where I would break down live interviews and best practices. What are we doing? What's working? Have some conversation there. Campus advertising, which is irrelevant at this point, and then break down each one. So we break down the sign 3 per interview, break down the 6 helpers. Now we would break down the social media. So this is where, what is our PR cycle? Again, this slide takes a little time. How many are each manager setting up? What's the show percentage and how many are they getting through the door? And putting this information in front of them at a staff meeting. And then coming back, MIT combos, who are we targeting for our MIT conversations? And then we assigned who's targeting who. And then what's the conversation that would be at our staff meeting. And then 28 seat reps on Q. This is where I would pull up who's all of our reps on Q. So we had 13 reps open Q. We had 12 booked up at least one demo, 4 booked 5 demos, and 1 made 50 calls. So it's like, now how do we manage that? Then at that point, we were using web PDI. How many goose eggs? 23 goose eggs, 10 reps under 1K, 0 reps over 1K. What is this? I actually ran this staff meeting on a Sunday. I remember this because we were trying to set up that Magic Monday. Less than 1,000 away. This slide takes a lot of time because I want to know how far everyone is. That one takes a little bit extra time.
That's to the next promotion?
Yeah, how close they are to their next promotion. Okay. So they're less than 1,000 away from the next promo is the red, and they're in the hunt in the blue. And that's what we
generate all you do the math on all these yourself.
I do all the math on, that's what I was doing. I was doing the math on all of these. So right now, my current staff watched me do this for months.
Yep.
And then I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, if I'm doing that, I can't do the other cool stuff I'm doing. So I need you to own this stuff for me. But
they watched it 4 times. Like, they saw this for a year.
I mean, for months, months on end of watching this stuff. So then, October, what is this? This was a business plan broken down just in the beginning of the campaign. September contest that we threw out, September pace. Again, last week's numbers, we would look at these numbers. I would have these numbers, ideally on a text message. I would send to them on WhatsApp beforehand, so they were able to find these. But now we've gotten so good at spreadsheet management, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. That was really helpful. We signed 23 growth recruits for that week. How do we break that down? And this would be a conversation topic. And this was, so office functions that we would talk about. Not this stuff is, so benchmark coaching. Sometimes I'll teach during a staff meeting. I did that today. I'll refer to that, but I would say benchmark coaching Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, pull up a report for what did we sell for those days, whatever's needed. And I'll teach them through conversation specific to that week. I think one thing, Trent, that I also want to mention is, I'm not trying to win the entire war every staff meeting. So by looking at my office as a whole, kind of like what I just showed you, I'm going to pick my one thing that is going to move the business the most that week. So sometimes that's PR sets. Sometimes it's increasing the manager show to training. Sometimes it's the MIT conversations. But I talk about it all. But I'm only going to teach whatever I think is the number one thing that business needs. And most of the time it's PRs or manager selling. Most of the time it's going to be one of these 3 things, because these are the main 3 things it takes to be an assistant manager in my office. Is you must be consistent with selling, helping with team building, and being a positive role model. If you want to be on my staff, you must be able to do those 3 things. Now, those are 3 really simple things that took me hours to simplify. It took me hours to simplify. What do I want from my assistant manager? I want them to be consistent with selling, help with team building, be a positive role model. If you could do those 3 things, then you could be on my staff. And what's interesting enough is, once I was able to get so simple with that, now I was able to quantify that. Okay, I want Q activity daily, $1,000 a week. This would be in the summertime. Help with team building, PRs and social media, messaging or setting up people for interviews, 15 a week. Be a positive role model. Be positive. What does that mean? Have a positive attitude, be responsible, have high levels of communication, and show up prepared. And I talk about that in training, by the way. This is day 1 of training opening comments. Be a positive role model. We expect you to have a good positive attitude. What does it mean for positive expectations? Be responsible. Just do your homework assignments. Have high levels of communication. We use WhatsApp all the time. And just show up prepared. If you show up for training, Zoom and making sure if you show up for a phone time, you have phone numbers, show up prepared. So as long as an assistant manager could be a good rep, be consistent, and help us build our team, then they're going to be able to be on my staff. So let me come up for some air again.
This is great. You mentioned earlier paying $15 an hour for a test. I'm going to go all the way back for that for a second here. Just because I want people to catch the fact that you're not afraid to invest into the business in even new areas. And it almost is like that old Vector adage, when in doubt, go heavy. Is you could probably get away with paying somebody $10, $12 an hour, maybe not legally in your part of the country, but you're paying $15 an hour for the test. Can you walk us a little bit more behind your philosophy there of paying to get it done and investing to build a business.
Sure. And by the way, I'm not seeing too much in the chat box. So if you can, if there's things that you hear that you're like, damn, that was really good. Thanks, Mike. That was awesome. That's good feedback for me. I don't know what you don't know. So if there's stuff that's helpful, let me know. If there's stuff you want me to expand on, let me know. I'm literally here for 1 more hour. I got 60 more minutes with you, and then I don't want to talk to you anymore. So ask me all the questions you have. I say that in the least arrogant way possible, because at the end, I'm going to show you what I'm working on right now. And you're gonna be like, yeah, Mike, figure that shit out, because that's going to help me next year. So the stuff that I'm working on right now, 1 year from now, you're going to be thankful that I'm figuring out for you. So you need me to focus on that stuff. So that way you can, you could be better in a year from now. So I'm here to serve for 60 more minutes. Blow up that chat with what you're liking or what you're questioning, because this, in my opinion, was a year ago, which is like not elementary compared to what we're doing right now, but this is where many of you are. And this is why I wanted to start here, because some of the other stuff I'm going to go to, I could totally see Scotty seeing the stuff I'm going to show you. He'd be like, that's my jam. That's going to be really helpful. But for someone, you're a brand new DM, you're going to watch some of the stuff I'm talking about, and you'll be like, Mike, you lost me at some of the other shit that you spent, that you started with. Can you go back to that? So I want to make sure, before I move on to the spreadsheet stuff and what Trent just asked me about, how do I decide who to pay and what? I just want to make sure I could tie a bow on some of the simple stuff, if there was anything there.
Sensing people are a little overwhelmed. I'll let you catch up in the chat here, okay, Mike, but I think at some point people are just fired up to see that you're thinking like an entrepreneur and not like a vector office manager, if I might. And that's meant to be a compliment. The idea that many of us get in the game of trying to get sales from week to week, and we're not acting like there's an arc in place, like there are KRAs to manage, etc. So your KRAs, if they're looking to get to where you were, let's say even a year ago, KRAs, if we go back to that, your big ones were manager selling, team building, and positive role model for the AM specifically. But your KRAs were, I believe, set.
Yes. Right? So yeah, let me go to that. That's a good question. So this slide right here is probably the most relevant to all of you, is the goals for the campaign. Forget about this first number, but this number here, the goals for the campaign. How many do we want to launch? Now, this was campus set. I'll show you a current one. I'll show you, this was last year. But last year, that was our numbers. This year, again, I don't want to overwhelm. Don't worry about the numbers. But this was, so this year is reps launched, SMRA launched, PR set, new TLA members, and CPO for the campaign. So it's the same thing. So we just swapped campus for SMRA's launched. This is literally my staff meeting today. I could walk you through this morning staff meeting right now. And if you wanted to, I could allude to that. But where does it stem from? It stems from the goals that I have for the year, which is right here. And again, this is where I don't want to overwhelm too much, but we're thinking big about, finishing off 2020 to set up momentum for 2021. So it's the sales numbers, the 1.4, the 2, and the 2.5, the deploying the 10 offices, developing 16 assistants for my home office, and then developing 10 new TLA members during this fall, and then setting up over a $3 million district team next year. So this is what we talk about every single week. So it doesn't matter what, like this is the same right here of what I just showed you. That's this year. And then last year's, I'm just scrolling all the way down. This is what we did last year. It's the same thing, just the numbers are evolving a little bit, but you need to know what your big five. And the big five is, well, it really comes down to a big one. What's the big one? Recruiting, development. And we just so happen to sell knives because we're recruiting. Like, that comes back to my message at SLC is know your, well, hey, go figure. I talked about it with my staff. Know your one thing, right? You got to know your one thing. And Dan had Jeff on the podcast. I played volleyball with him a couple weeks ago. And the guy nailed it on the head. You got to know what your one thing is. If you're trying to chase CPO, you're in the wrong business. Go be a CSP, right? We're not chasing CPO. CPO is a byproduct. It is a byproduct of recruiting. We got to know that. And that was a tough pill for, I thought I was in the self-development space. I thought I was in the people development space. No, I'm not. I'm in a recruiting business that happens to be able to develop people, and we do that through selling. Now, I realize that. That was a tough pill for me to swallow because for a decade or more, I thought I was in the people business. I thought I was in the people development business, but I'm not. I'm in the recruiting business. So my staff meeting is based upon that. Now, during recruiting, well, a lot of the conversations take place, but I think it's important to start there. So let me see what's happening in this chat box here.
One simple one, you've got 8 on AM pay and 2 making $15 an hour. If they understand correctly, this is Mitch Stevens. Any issues with the ones on office pay being frustrated with low sales numbers, potentially making less at times than hourly people? You're
Sure.
shipping a lot of knives right now, though.
Yeah, so they don't see their AM pay anyways going to their withholding, so it doesn't matter. If they want to make money, they go sell. That's why we have consistent selling as a standard. So they're not going to be, see, old school philosophy, we promote people to be an AM because we need help in my office. I need help, therefore you need to be an AM. That's a bunch of bullshit. That's not what an AM isn't a servant. An AM isn't to do the work that you don't want to do. An AM is to do their number one responsibility, which is to, the three responsibilities, which is to be consistent with their sales, be consistent with team building, and be a positive role model for all the new recruits that we're bringing in. And if they could do those three things, then they'll be on my staff. So if they are on my staff without able to do those three things, then they're not going to be on my staff. I will tell you right now, that is very tough. I know I'm being passionate right now, but that is very tough. I think back, I shared it. I shared it at SLC. I'll share it again. I had reps. I had people I love, people that I would call like my little brother and sister that I cut from my staff because they weren't selling, or they were broke, or they weren't a good exemplifying our business. I mean, I had a Tierra was ride or die with me. And how many conversations I had with her, I said, listen, I want you here. I have love for you. You're amazing. You have 3 weeks to turn it around. And if you don't turn it around, unfortunately, you're going to get replaced because there's 2-3 new people that can do your job. I know you're more skilled than them at running an interview, and you're more skilled than them at, calling PRs. You're probably better at that, but you're clogging up my pipeline if you're not doing the main things. I need you to, so I'm supporting. I'm not telling you just go do it. I'm telling you, I need this done. So what needs to happen? Cool. That's 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out. Tierra, I'm telling you, we both of us are not going to like the conversation we're going to have next week. Can we make our move? 1 week out. Listen, this is it. This is the last straw. And on that last week, I'm already talking to the next person in line, who is Caitlin. Already at 2 weeks, I'm talking to Caitlin saying, hey, Caitlin, just so you know, an opportunity might present itself in 2 weeks from now. One of the other managers aren't getting done. We need 3 things: consistent selling, aggressive team builders, and positive role model. Keep doing what you're doing for the next couple of weeks. You might get the nod. 3rd week, Tierra, you're out. I love you. You could sell Cutco. You're on the team. Caitlin, you're in. Caitlin, these are the standards. Can you hit these 3 standards? Yes, you're in. Boom, drop and reload. That was April. Well, now Caitlin's in the role. 3 weeks go by. Caitlin's looking at her paycheck. I'm not making enough. Caitlin, are you selling? No, you have 3 weeks to turn it around. But Mike, I'm busy during the summer. I know. We're all busy during the summer. But if you need money, you go sell knives. You make 30% commission still, right? Sell $1,000, make $300. Oh, but that's the job. That's your job. You can't handle it. 2 weeks out. Cool. At the 2nd week, hey, Eric, just so you know, there's a spot available potentially in the next 2 weeks. I just want to make sure you understand you're on deck. It's a good opportunity. Just want to let you know. Boom. 3rd week, 2nd week, 1st week, Caitlin, you're out. Eric, you're in. Drop and reload. We're doing $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 weeks. I was literally on a road trip with my wife in June, had an assistant manager quit, drop her, reload Eric, and we had another 80K week without skipping a beat at all, just having conversations with these people that are in the pipeline because we have standards for our business. And then same thing. Eric is a good example. Eric, he wasn't hitting it. 3 weeks out. Boom. Drop. Anthony Marino, 2 weeks. Anthony Marino, you're in. Just want to let you know he's fired up. So now Anthony's in. So literally that one position, when the baton has been passed from Tiara to Caitlin to Eric to Anthony. All the others have been pretty good. But that one same position has been filled. And here's what happens. All the other people are watching me, that I mean business, that I'm running it and I'm in charge. And the circumstance is not the boss, that I'm the boss. I'm the freaking man of my company. I run the show. They do their job.
Seabass is asking here, Mike, what does your PDI system look like first weekend and fast start? I'm assuming this is an AM question. Are AMs split with who they are managing during the demo and post demo? Are they doing live PDI or just WhatsApp voice notes in a one-on-one coaching call? So there's a lot of questions here. What does PDI look like after their fast start?
Yeah. So this is I'll go through this. I'll go through this answer with you. And I wouldn't say that we are the PDI organization that you want to learn from, because CPO is not our main thing. We are recruiters in Tampa. Hence why we launched almost 400 for the summer, 397 for the summer. You know, we are recruiters in Tampa. That's what we do. We just so happen to sell some knives, but I will show you what we do. You might not be very impressed with it. You might be like, oh my God, that's amazing. We're still working through this, because PDI is not a strong suit for us right now. But what is strong for us is our communication. That's what's strong for us, is our structure. So let me pull up my slide that would do this justice for you. PDI. So
as
a couple
you're looking
things.
for this,
so
Mike, what I love here is that it's so much of, although the topic is team meetings, this is really a philosophy of how we run the organization. This is your philosophy of how we, you and your staff, drive the business. And that one meeting happens to be the crux of all of it. But I love all the philosophy that we're getting into here. So go ahead.
Okay. So one of the things that we'll focus on is something like this. Okay. Like 20 reps to the newsletter. And so this would be a matrix that's not unfamiliar for some of you, but that way they're intentional with their conversations. So the staff is, yes, there's every rep every day to an extent, but they're really focusing on how many they can get to the newsletter. And not that they're not talking to the reps that are not doing well, but they're being intentional with the reps that they can get closest to CPO. So that's one of the things that we'll talk about in our business, is closest to CPO. Let me try to see here. I'm just going through all my slides. What's important now? So this is a big concept in our office as well. Very similar is this is our staff meeting. What's important now? So if we're driving sales, overall demo management, so driving phone jams, agreements, accountability, intentional coaching of the top 50%, big three and recaps, micromanagement, 4-order focus, SMRA hiring, day 1 through AT1 management. So this is probably the system of pre-training all the way through, and then staff leading with personal selling and PR. So that's maybe something that's happening behind the scenes that might look something here. So
If I can interject briefly here, Mike, I know some are asking about the slides. Will the slide deck be available already? That's a no, folks. So you want to screen grab now and or watch the replay and screen grab that way, so you can recreate these on your own. That's where Mike started off with. So if you joined us a little bit late, no big deal, but these will not be made public and available. Make your own. Go ahead.
So these right here, this is something that my staff does on WhatsApp with me. This is summer. Is they will send the team meeting attendance last week, Wednesday phone jam totals, Sunday phone jam totals, newsletter, who had PRs launched from the people you're working with, who had milestones and promotions that we need to recognize this week, and then they'll craft projections for the next week. So that would be something a team captain, someone who's working and driving sales. This is the information that they'll get before a staff meeting. So they'll send something like this. And then whoever's running my recruiting operation, they would send this information for the SMRA and the interview. And whoever's running the PR program would be getting this information. That's what we were doing all summer. And like I said, we're evolving. Like I'm like a mad scientist in my office right now, crafting stuff. So to answer that question effectively, I'm not trying to skirt around it. I'm trying to answer it to the best of my ability because it's evolving constantly. But I'll show you what we're doing right now. And like I said, it might be helpful, it might not be. So this is our flow for driving to answer your question, whoever asked it about sales. So you're going to look at some of this stuff. And this even right now is kind of outdated. We're starting to evolve this as well. So training. So on Wednesday night, we figure out we split up the training set class. We update a spreadsheet with the teams and we figure out which manager is going to be working with who. So we update a spreadsheet with everybody. I have my virtual assistant update the spreadsheet. She takes Vector Live and puts everyone who's set for training on that spreadsheet. And I could show you what that spreadsheet looks like in a moment. Then they'll divvy it up and we text them or call them to do training confirmations. Thursday before training, we'll have some sort of interaction with the training class just to make sure that they're good. Thursday during training, we do our attendance, mini teams, whatever the case may be. And then day one PC, we have a day one PC with them at the end of that day. After the day one PC, day two morning, we'll have a group announcement. We talk to them a little bit. We have a day two PC to review some of the stuff. And again, I'll show you what we're working on currently, but this is like maybe during the summer, I was building this out. Day two phone jam. That's their next point of contact. Show them how to phone jam, make sure they're feeling good. Day two training, update the spreadsheet again, light bulbs, feeling good. Wave one. So wave one, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. Wave one, first round of PDI, incoming calls, make sure that we're supporting them, we're helping them, everything. Then their first full day, waves 2 and 3 is what we're calling it now. We're really supportive, like really encouraging them, live calls, really helping them out. And then I want to make sure my assistant managers have some level of sanity. So I give them a green light to say, hey, continue the conversation over WhatsApp if you don't want to answer your phone on Saturday afternoon and evening. Many of them still answer the phone call, but we probably take a hit on CPO, but that's what helps with my development retention because I'm not driving my staff to be a slave to their phone after those first 3 waves. So we are definitely taking a hit on CPO on those after wave 3. But now, at least after the first 3 waves of PDI, my staff knows who's probably going to be on the newsletter and who's not, who's their energy drainers, who's not. So I'm making a good user experience for my staff who's doing that coaching. Then advanced training, we'll figure out and we'll fix whatever's missing. My staff also knows 0 for 5, timeout, no more appointments after 5 until advanced training. So that way we don't have any base pay chasers. And we do have a lot of videos that we'll send on our YouTube channel that we'll use. Then day 4 PCs. And then we have our rest of our flow for development, Tuesday PDI, Wednesday phone jam, team meeting, Thursday, Friday PDI. This is, by the way, where that first Thursday, Friday PDI is so critical to finish off their fast start strong, but also set up development. We go to have Vector Connect and have them fill out the internship packet. We review the commission statement with them. So that way they know how much exact money is getting deposited into their account. We'll invite them to the Saturday key staff meeting, recap the team meeting, and tell them how many friends they have showed up for training. That sets them up, pongs them. So it's always a pong, like a pong, 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 pong. Key staff, Sunday PSP, final fast start day, day 11 PC, Tuesday PDI, to their next team meeting, second team meeting, second phone jam. Then we follow up, show them the commission statement. And when we raise them in a healthy way, by the time their third team meeting rolls around and they've seen all of this, they've seen the team meeting, they've seen the Thursday PDI, we ask them, hey, do you want to sign up for withholdings? Do you want to position yourself to, advance? Yeah, why don't you come to an AMI meeting? That is our flow for not sales. That's our flow for development. Why? Because I'm recruiting managers and I'm recruiting reps. So someone might look at this and say, wow, that's really detailed. That's really beautiful. And it is. That shit took me like 25 hours to create. It is beautiful. But I'll tell you right now, if you just understand the concept, though, that it's what are the pivot points? What's the life cycle of a rep from point A to point B to point C, all the if thens. If we do this, then we get this. If we do this, then we get that. And we just go through the whole process. And that's what I work through. So therefore, if I know the process, I can then dissect with my staff, where is the kink in the hose? Where is the biggest bubble being built for us to kind of undo that knot in the hose in the process? Because there's tons of knots in the hose, but which is the biggest one for that week specifically? As a newer manager, I would try to make the hose nice and smooth, the whole hose, make sure that hose is perfect. And that's a bunch of BS, because it's not only overwhelming for me, it's overwhelming for my staff. They get burned out. They're trying to tackle so much, and we're still not doing CPO. So we're burning out our development. We're not selling much. We're chasing several rabbits that we're not chasing any. And then we have this cycle where I'm a DM, I'm lonely, running my business by myself. None of my development likes me. I'm constantly burning and turning, and we're still not shipping volume, and we're not developing people. So again, tough pills to swallow for Mike Abramowitz a couple of years ago. You saw my 2017 January. Shit, that spring in 2017, we did 45K in new business the whole spring. Then in May, we did 45K for the entire month of May. And then boom, we had like 180K new business June. And then boom, we had like a 200K new business July. And the rest is history. This is where a lot of this started. So you're seeing a lot of where I'm at, right? What I'm talking about, it looks sexy, it looks good, and it is. But that's why I don't want to give it to you. I need you to figure it out for your business, for what your business needs. How do you want to operate? What are the things that you like and you don't like? What are your strengths? What is your genius? Paul Fox, what is your genius? Lauren, what is your genius? Edson, what is your genius? What are you good at? What brings you energy? Staff meetings bring me energy. Team meetings bring me energy. Running certain talks in training. I'll say that specifically. Certain talks in training bring me energy.
Not the whole seminar.
No, not the whole seminar. There's certain things. Coaching conversations. That's easy for me. I do 22 coaching conversations every week without fail. I sit down and have 22 coaching conversations. Now you may say, what's the difference between a coaching conversation and PDI? PDI is where they call me. Coaching conversation is I set up my calendar. I know when I'm talking. I have them in my calendar, premeditated. And then I have my spreadsheet of who I'm targeting and who I'm talking to for that week. And I'll show you what that looks like. Let's see here. So don't snoop on my stuff. I'm just kidding. All right.
As Mike's looking for this stuff, I wanted to read a couple of comments here on the chat. Jordan White says the vision is not built around who's on staff currently. The vision is built and the staff fill the roles. Josh Thayer said, these are tough conversations, but so necessary. Jesse Fiddler from Canada said, love that. Vision is built and the staff filled the roles. So that's getting some energy around it. I think you're answering some of what Michael Foreman's asking here, which is, can you break down all the roles in your organization, how you promote them, and how you effectively prepare someone to step into that role / delegation? I'm going to just read the questions here, Mike, and I'll let you decide what cool. makes the most sense to hit. Good. You have hit some, right? Another one of the questions is, how, this is Shane Isler, also from Canada, Team Canada. How do you set the role opportunity for assistance in the team? It sounds like you have a lineup of people just fired up to be an AM. That's the dream. And you then showed us the flow chart. So if I was to just even dumb this down, put it low on the shelf for just a second, you basically took what we used to call event-to-event management, and you literally thought through, what do we need to accomplish and get done to get them to look like the recruiting funnel was taking them to AMI, assistant manager intern, I would guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is what I'm working on now. Like, I'm currently building out all of this. And I have some of the most incredible human beings that I get a chance to work with on the daily and on the weekly that back this vision, because they know that not only do they want to be a part of this, they want to build it with me, but they know they're going to benefit from it. We have 5 district manager letter of intents in and 6 branch manager letter of intents in right now on our district team. And they know it's like, they're also going to benefit from what we're building out. And then we have another 18 TLA candidates in the pipeline around them. How do we do that? Well, I had to ask the same damn question. And that's why I built a lot of like, what does this look like? And now I actually have a slide for it. It took me a lot of time to figure that shit out. But if I'm working in the business, I can't figure that out. And I communicate that just like that with my staff. It's like, if I'm doing all those functions and if I'm doing them, well, number one, I don't need you. But number two, I can't work in my creative genius, which is figuring all this stuff out to make it even better. So mess up. I don't just figure stuff out for me. Here, watch these videos. Check. You've been on the receiving end of this. And I give them a lot of autonomy. They have a lot of autonomy and they mess up. It is ugly. It is absolutely ugly. It is messy. But you know what? Some of y'all are running very messy offices right now too. And you're still here. And
sounds like you're comfortable with the mess.
Yes.
When you say, hey, they're messy, what I hear you say, we've talked before about the difference between technical skill and tactical strength. And you seem to be keying in on what their genius is, what are some of their tactical strengths, things they're already good at without any training, and just qualifying them to go forward and start doing it.
And building on those. You know, I have candidates right now, like freaking awesome kids. They don't know much at all. But the stuff that they're doing and that they're responsible for, it's big stuff. And I tell them straight, like, if you watch any of my staff meetings, which many of them are recorded on our YouTube channel, and by the way, they're going to be going private very soon. So I would soak it up because
grab them now.
There's some confidential stuff that, you know, we talk about some people on there that I don't want to, you know, but you'll see, I'll say some stuff that is, I would say it's like inappropriate stuff like that. That is just that we capture on these staff meetings, but I just call the shots as I see them. And that's okay. Like, they respect me because of it, you know, and watch them. You could literally peel back the curtain. They're on YouTube for a little bit longer. So, but anyway, I wanted to show you what I was going to say is I have, these are my candidates. These are the people. And then I pick out which ones I want to talk to each week. So this is the week right now we're in. There's my 22. So boom, I pick out who I want to talk to. I send them my Calendly link, and then I pick out what days I want to do my calls. And that's what I do. I have my call recaps that I keep for each of them, so I know what we talked about. If I need to have a reference check for them. What do I have on here? Org chart. So this was a flop. So here's what I'll tell you. I went into the fall with this freaking awesome genius idea, how we're going to build this thing out. We're going to build out this $500,000 fall, team captains, pod leaders, all this stuff, how we're paying. And it was a massive, massive flop. Floppity-doo. It wasn't effective, but we were able to draw out some really great lessons from it. So, like I took a hit financially. Like 1 month, I lost. I didn't make any money in the month of, I think it was October. I did my P&L. I sat down recently. I did my P&L for October. I was like, shit, I made like $200 in October. That sucks. That's not good. That is not good. So, so bottom line is, but number one, do you know your profit loss? I sit down and have a meeting with myself every single month for 90 minutes to 2 hours. So I could look at my P&L. And that's absolutely critical. So I know where my expenses are and where I'm overspending and where I'm also profiting. So I think that's important. I have no problem. I could pull that up.
As much, Mike, as you're analyzing the P&L, it doesn't sound like you're putting the P&L together. I'm assuming you have an outside company doing that.
I put all it together.
You do it all.
That too. I used to have Rising Stock do it for me, but then I was losing autonomy over my spending because I wasn't here's my philosophy. Here's the conversation I have with myself. The more I spend, the longer it takes for me to update my P&L because I'm tracking every single expense. So therefore, I force myself to go through that pain every month. And if I don't want it to be that painful, then I will spend less money.
So you're tracking it. You're doing the work yourself.
Yeah, and I could pull that up, just so you could see. I do it. And I'm not saying that. That's just, these are the agreements I make with Mike. Mm-hmm. This is Mike, we have an agreement, this is what you're going to do. And I've been doing this for several years now. And like I said, I know this is getting recorded, but whatever, I don't care. I'll share with y'all. But I think this is so important. If you want to be a CEO or think like a CEO, you got to do things that CEOs do. So this is 2018. This is 2019. This is 2020. So um, so this is every month I sit down, I go through my Vector Connect, I go through my profit loss from Vector Connect, and I update them here. Then I go through all my expenses for the month, every single dollar that went out, all my expenses for the month. And I'm like, fuck, I'm spending 30, 40 G's. What the hell? Right. So, I have my, grab earnings, all that. And then I have my personal expenses and then all my investments. I look at all my investments of where that is. I want to know exactly what I have liquid right now and, what I have accessible. And that way I could, then I have my joint investments and all that. But bottom line is I can look right now at a glance. My profit loss for the year after personal expenses is 140. Is how much I've saved this year. And I'm able to look on my business as net profit loss in the business, 183.61. I spent 200 grand this year on my business. 1099 is up here at, 383. And I'm able to look at this. Now, regardless of the numbers weren't that high in 2018. So in 2018, I was doing this 2018 too. It was, 200 and, spent 106. Net profit loss 94. So it wasn't as high, but by developing the habit of doing this and knowing this and seeing it and being on top of it, it's allowing me to take the excess savings now. And I was able to just do a $25,000 investment into a company. I was able to make smart decisions with my money because I'm on top of it. I'm aware of it. I'm knowing how much I have. And these aren't impulse decisions. So I want to take a vacation. My wife and I, we just spent just under $5,000 on a trip for our celebrate our 3-year anniversary. But I knew that I was able to do that without feeling pain.
Love this. I know you've just got 29 minutes left with us, Mike, here, but what I hear you saying is that by taking responsibility and doing the numbers yourself, you had a greater intimacy with that, and that informed and raised your awareness, and you've made some different choices since then.
Sure, that is correct.
Appreciate it.
And again, I'm truly adopting the CEO mentality in my business, and I believe that more vector managers ought to do the same. The DM CEO opportunity is alive and well and exists, but it starts the way we think and before you show up to your business. So like, I know we talk about being insatiable, like an insatiable hunger for growth. I spend 20 grand a year on personal growth. Now, I'm not telling you to go spend 20 grand a year on personal growth, but like I buy books. I bought every vector manager book. I have every single vector author, whoever is in vector marketing and wrote a book. I bought their books. I have their books. I mean, I have books all around my house. My people and I were doing UPW next week. And we're going to UPW with Tony Robbins next week, the virtual UPW. I flew out to Austin, Texas, and went to a personal growth seminar and did a retreat. Many of you were there with Mike Chu. Went out to Arkansas and did a retreat with Better Than Rich with Biggs. Thousands of dollars. I went to San Francisco, thousands of dollars invested in personal growth. What do I listen to when I go to the gym? I listen to podcasts. I have a huge man crush right now on Matthew McConaughey. Just saying, huge man crush on Matthew McConaughey. The guy is so incredible right now. I mean, incredible. So I've listened to one episode twice, his interview on Lewis Howes, and then I'm listening to him right now on Joe Rogan this morning, and then I listened to him on Tim Ferriss' podcast. I bought his book. It comes today. I cannot wait to devour over Thanksgiving his book, Green Lights. But the way he thinks is so remarkable to me. I'm listening to, especially like a lot of things happen in the political environment. Like I want to be educated. So like I'll listen to Joe Rogan, and I was listening to Joe Rogan and he interviewed Ben Shapiro and he sounded really intelligent. So I was like, cool, let me listen to him a little bit. Joe Rogan interviews these people. I'm like, cool, let me follow them. Kyle Cease was another great person. So Ed Milet, he interviews so many great people. I constantly am feeding my mind with CEO level thinking. And he either does, number one, validates my current thought process, or number two, challenges me to think differently. Reading, podcasts. I challenge myself too. 4 days a week, going to the gym each morning, 4 days a week. My happy ass was there. I woke up this morning, 5:15. I planned my staff meeting from 6 to 7, only an hour this morning because I did most of it yesterday and over the course of the weekend. And then 7 o'clock, walk to the gym, walk back, was home by 8:15, on the Zoom at 8:30 a.m. for my staff meeting, 8:30 to 10. Then we have our divisional staff meeting going on. And then I interjected to do this. I'm not saying that because I'm superhuman or I'm great. It's that I know what my priorities are. I know what's important. And I'll tell you, personal growth is so critical. And here's what's crazy. Every time I listen to a podcast, I send it to my people. I'm cooking dinner last night. I'm listening to the 4 Agreements on YouTube. Why? Because that's what my TLA is listening to. Send them the link. Hey, this is what I'm listening to tonight. If you have any light bulbs, listen to this. My people are fed constantly personal growth and self-development. Why? So that way, maybe if they're coaching other reps in my office, they might use some of that stuff to coach their people too. Worst case, they're feeding their mind. Best case, worst case, they know I'm feeding my mind. Best case, they start feeding their minds too, and they start acting as if. My people are so impressive. Oh my gosh, they are so impressive. But I would bet all the money I have on my spreadsheet that I just showed you that they would not nearly be as impressive as they are if they saw the leader eating Cheetos, sitting on the couch, not going to gyms, not reading and not learning and not growing consistently. They wouldn't be as impressive as they are. Now, again, I don't know if I don't even know how I got on that tangent, but
I love it. Dude, you're fired up. Gary Vaynerchuk, is he one of the guys you're following at all?
I listened to him on Ed Milet. I followed Gary Vee for a little bit, but recently I haven't been much with Gary Vee, but I read his book, Jab, 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 Left Hook. Read his book. The other one, can't remember the name off the top, but
you're embodying so much of the grind that he talks about. But it's like a noble grind where you're just out there. It's discipline. It's going for it. Many might not know on this call that you lost 70 pounds at one point and have just maintained this level of discipline for many years now at this point. So some people might see these results and go, oh, overnight success. You would be a 16-year overnight success, Mike.
There's facts on that. And you could, I listed a lot of that stuff in my first book, Your Best Year Ever, but that was written in 2015. So a lot of growth that you're seeing right now is not from the previous growth, like the 3 silver cups and our development and our letters of intent and all of that. It came from COVID hits. Mike Abramowitz is, I'm doing micro days, baby. 6 a.m. to noon, noon to 6, 6 to midnight, midnight to 6, micro days. I'm doing 3 days in one. You have a to-do list of 5 things for your day. I have a to-do list of 5 things in my micro day. So I'm getting 15 things done for every 5 that you're doing. I'm grinding. But some of those things are not necessarily just business. And it's not just personal. Some of that, I watched Tiger King. I watched that stupid ass show. Know what I did? I binge watched, I'm not proud of this, but I binge watched 8 hours of a badass show called The Boys.
Oh, binged that's a good one. That's a good one.
Binged the whole thing. I couldn't stop. All season 2, done. Knocked it out in one night. I started at 4 p.m. I was like, oh my God, it's freaking 3 a.m. This is not good. I'm watching one more though, right? You
gotta finish it.
So bottom line is, I still make time for vacation. I'm still making time for that. My Monday is personal Mike day. I go play around the golf, get a massage almost every Monday. I'm still taking care of me. This isn't just grind. It is when I am, but I'm not replacing necessity. Every night, my wife and I will sit down, we talk, we eat together. I would say at least 4 nights a week. Some of y'all are single, go do single stuff. That's cool. Social distance, but all right, let's get back to it. We got 23 minutes.
Well, with only 23 minutes, I'm willing to bet that what you're excited about in the future, again, you've alluded to some of it now. I'm going to ask this question earlier now. What are you excited about the future? How can we support you? One of the questions that's already on here is your YouTube channel about to go completely ghost or just the staff meeting? So if we want to get more, how can we support you? How can we jump on the Mike A-Bomb train?
Yeah. So if you're the content that you're going to want to devour right now is on our YouTube, which is the Bay Area Game Changers. So Bay Area Game Changers. Not everything is going private, but a good amount of it is probably because some of it, like I said, I speak passionately oftentimes. Like there's certain things like I'll say in a team meet or in any of my meetings that if it's taken out of context, it could potentially hurt my Mike Abramowitz brand, because I say some stuff that, like I would say, one of the things I said, like I've killed a lot of reps in my day. Like I say that when I'm coaching my managers.
Sure.
Like I say that because one of my managers like, oh, so and so quit. It's like, listen, I killed so many reps in my day because I was not very good at management and coaching. And someone could like pull that out of context, pair it with me cursing a lot, put it on
Right.
this. Look at Mike Abramowitz, how shitty of a person he is, and it's like it's not worth it to me to even have to
Right.
defend myself on stupid stuff like that. But there are other trolls out there. They're all over the damn place. And it's stupid that I even have to think about that, but it's I chose not to focus on that this whole year. That's why everything's been public. Many of you are using my stuff, continue to use my stuff, but at some point it's going to need to go private just to protect myself
You
from
got it.
any of those trolls that are out there. With the climate that we're in right now, it's
Mm-hmm.
not worth it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So Bay Area Game Changers, Better Than Rich is another. I would subscribe there because my life coach Andrew Biggs and we are doing live conversations. We're doing a 75 hard right now. So a lot of what I'm giving you right now, I've already been having this conversation with Biggs, and we're launching a podcast at the end of the year. But right now we're doing all of our Facebook live recordings, and they're going on YouTube. So all of those are public. So that's a great conversation to be a part of. Like one of ours we just did was systemizing your business. We do a deep 45 to an hour dive on systemizing the business. And I mean, some of those episodes are really, really strong and very relevant to a district manager. Even though some of like our clients, like one of my clients, he's like a VP of Allstate. A guy makes a couple $100,000 a year, and he's one of my clients, so he's paying to learn what you're getting for free. So I would that's why we want to launch that podcast, so more people could get access to that information. So even though it won't be on the YouTube channel, it'll be on Better Than Rich YouTube. So I would subscribe there. And then some of the big things that we're working on too is I'll talk about. Let me show you what I'm working on in the business. Okay, I think some of the stuff. This is what I'm doing right now that I want to set you up to be able to do in the future. So this is our winter break program. This is what we're setting up right now. We split our team into 9 teams. So I have 9 branches within my office. So run a branch inside the district. That's what we're doing this winter break. So all of I picked out my 9 strongest candidates, and I'm letting them run a district inside of my business. They're running they're hiring their own SMRAs, hiring their own staff. I mean, they're literally recruiting their own teams, PRs, like everything. And I'm also giving them any 6K rep that they develop during the break. I'm giving them to bring to their summer office to go with them to their summer teams. So I broke it up poker style tournament. First place to 9th place. I also put $2,500 in the pot. Plus, I'm paying them 3% off of non-CSP business over the course of the 6-week contest, plus 3% off of everything their individual team sells. So what we're trying to work out is where, as you build your business inside your like a very large team, is where assistant managers can get paid off of only the reps that they work with. That's what Scott Dennis, myself, John Welpley, Andrew Evans, were trying to work out eventually, because there's not going to be territories open. The branch program might be obsolete in the future. So we're testing how to create a branch within our district and how to compensate them based upon the people that they're directly working with. That's what we're innovating right now. So we have some projections of what that could look like. We're really excited about that. What else are we working on? So as far as our staff meeting, this is what we look at every week. Staff expectations. This was my staff meeting this morning. So who's selling at least 500, who's setting up at least 5 PRs for the week so far, from Friday through Tuesday morning. And then we'll do some best practices. They'll share, they'll talk. Staff meeting this morning. This is we're in a push right now. So who's pacing towards 2,500, which is the benchmark that we said. Talking about push CPO. This was this morning's staff meeting. So what's cool about keeping these slides is I had last year the Olean push. We did 45K. Right now we're at 39, and we're like, all right, how many push performers did we have last year? We had 7 over 2,500. How many could we get this year? This is what we did last year. 28 non-CSP orders in the final 2 days. That's what we did last year. What could we do this year? And then picked our targets. We had 15 targets that we're targeting to get to $2,500 for the final leg of the push, because those are the individuals that we want to target, hence recruiting, that we want to target for TLA. Because if they're over 1K, we're going to network them with Mr. Andrew Evans. 3K, we're going to invite them to the local TLA prep. 6K AMI opportunity, 10K interview for TLA. So that way we could see if we could get any scoop ups for late acceptances for TLA. So if they have a good solid finish to their push, maybe we could scoop up some more TLA candidates at the end of the push. This is what we do every week. This is where some of you might really enjoy. So we're collecting data. Every day, my staff updates data, and my virtual assistant takes that data and puts it onto a spreadsheet. So instead of showing you the slides, I'll show you the actual spreadsheets and what this looks like. This is, again, systemizing it and working through systems and people. You see my tabs over here? Look how many spreadsheets that I have open, all right?
I love it, dude.
So everything is spreadsheet. So this is our spreadsheets, Sunday, Wednesday, and advanced training. Sunday, Wednesday, advanced training. So before Sunday paycheck meeting, so we'll put a little bar here so we know this was last week. So we separated. So these are only people that filled it out this week. That means we have a kink in our hose. And I have conditional formatting set. So conditional formatting says, what does it say? It says, if this, then that. If this, then that. So if value is greater than or equal to 7, then highlight in yellow. If the value is less than 5, highlighted in red. How many demos did you complete last week? Look how good we're doing at driving sales, everybody. Aren't we really good at driving? Like there's an area of opportunity here. So, but at least we know, at least we have the data, and I just create the Google form for this. Same thing for Wednesday, same thing for advanced training. And we have our red flags and yellow flags. Yellow flags are probably going to be the ones that get more attention. Red flags are going to be the ones that they also get attention to an extent. The white flags are probably going to be low maintenance type of reps. So Google Forms for activities. This right here is our final interview question. So final interview questions. So one of the things that, they fill out the Google form at the end of the interview. That's not new. But one of the things that we just started working on is how many names and phone numbers are they showing up to training with? That was a question that I posed. So we have our the training sign-in sheet, which is somewhere. I'll eventually get to it somewhere up here. But we took that training sign-in sheet for day 1, and then we took the post frequently, final interview questions of who ran the post interview, so we can see if there's correlation between how many phone numbers they're coming into training with the post interviewer. So we're just testing that right now. Where my staff is freaking awesome to help me test some of that stuff. This here is the next spreadsheet. This is we've tested this fall of just breaking down our sales weeks by the day. So this is putting every rep on here. This would be equivalent to like a web PDI, but I just wanted to try Google Form. It's really good concept, but we're not 100% nailing this one yet, but it's goal set completed for the day. And the conditional formatting is if they haven't filled out their goals. So again, we're just testing on how we can increase our efficiencies with driving sales, but that's that spreadsheet there. And then we also had, that's the push projections. This was this spreadsheet for them for their PCs. So we know like what they were doing and all that stuff. But this one here, this is a spreadsheet. This is the one I was alluding to. So recruiting stats. So every day we have a chat on WhatsApp called staff. So this stats group on WhatsApp. Fall stats. So this is every day they send. So Rochelle's in charge of the recruiting. Her job is to go to Vector Live, find the stats for the day, and send it here. Then my virtual assistant takes this and she updates this spreadsheet for me. Now you might say, well, why don't I just have the assistant manager just do it? Because the user experience for my AM, it's easier for them to copy and paste and do it on WhatsApp than it is to pull up the spreadsheet according to them. So that's why I'm going to make the user experience easy for them with the least of resistance as possible. And I have a virtual assistant take this information and put it into a spreadsheet, no problem. And with overseas virtual assistants, we can get them at very inexpensive rates. I give her 40 hours a week anyway. If you don't have one, you want to talk to your DVM ASAP and get a virtual assistant. It's life-changing. But so this is what we look at. So then we look at Monday at the end of the week at our staff meeting, we look at our trends. This week, what we were able to look at, we had a shitty PR set number, but we had 16 signed for the week compared to 62 set and 18 signed for the week. So we're increasing efficiency. So I was able to find a positive. Indirectly, them saying, shit, we need to set up more PRs this week. But I was able to lead by showing data. So that's that. Onboarding stats. One of my managers who's in charge of onboarding, they put all this data in here. So we're able to check and see all of our data for day 1, day 2, day 3. So we can see like our show to training is abysmal. We have not had one 50% show since October. Why? Because they're all brand new. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They're reading a script. They're terrible. But if I'm running the interviews, then I can't do all the other stuff I'm doing. So we're taking a little bit of a hit. We are taking a hit, but I'm also developing people in the process because I'm in the know. When I'm ready to tackle the interviews, I will, which is going to probably happen in here, but then we'll tackle it. Right now, it's just not the main thing for our business, but eventually it will be. So some of the stuff you can see we're tackling, PR set number, all that stuff. SMRA stats. That's the hot topic. SMRAs. Mike, what's your SMRA program? We are not the SMRA team. That's Mr. Jeff Gamboa. I mean, we started in his division, but he's the guy. We do his program. But one of the things that we do is we track. So now we know one of the cool things is that we do have data, how many messages it takes to get how many responses, how many new phone numbers, and how many hours paid out. So we're collecting some data here. That's important. So that's been helpful. Then the driving the sales, they have their mini teams. We launched on November week 1. We were doing this before, but this is where we start. They just track demo goal for the day, demos completed, orders placed, and CPO each day. And that's what each team captain manages. They have their team name. What do they really do? What do they really do? This guy, he started in July. He doesn't know how to coach PDI. He doesn't even know how to spell PDI, but nobody knows how to do. He knows how to sell. He's at like 25K and he knows how to have fun. So all he does is he calls his people and is like, hey, we only have a goal of 2 for the day. We're going to do demos today. Like that's what he does. Like, hey, we have a goal of 4 for the day. Like he doesn't know anything except what are the metrics and the numbers that are important for him to drive. And if all he knows is that and just brings that awareness to his people, then maybe they'll sell. And go figure. They made some sales. They had 15 orders for $4,800 last week. But all he's doing is just driving and knowing these 4 numbers and seeing their weekly CPO pace and then seeing his competitors and seeing, shit, I got to do something in order for them to sell, in order for them to do something. So, and then that's this spreadsheet. I'll show you just a couple more and then I'll take the last few minutes. What is this? Oh, that's divisional. That's not office. What is this one? This one here is, that's Alliance signups. That's irrelevant. What is this one? Oh, this one is a beautiful spreadsheet. I don't even want to, you can't look at this one. I'm just kidding. This one is a masterpiece. This is my receptionist pay tracking spreadsheet. Okay. So if you watch my SMRI training, there's an hour video on there of me running this, but I'm going to have to update it because I don't even know when I recorded that one. But this is, so taking someone like, someone asked the question of how do I pay someone by the hour? So this is Rochelle, who's one of my DMCs. By the way, she was at 5K as a DMC and now she's pacing towards 20K. So just keep in mind, but I put her in charge of my whole SMRA program. So she's been running that program for weeks, but now I give her responsibility. So this is what she tracks, doing hours in support, assigning lists, meet with Audrey, schedule, systemizing. Look at it. She's using the word systemizing. That's amazing. It's beautiful. It's beautiful when you have people using your language. So this is all the stuff that she does. She does all this stuff. And then we track all the hours and then we have their pay and then I pay her and I send her Venmo. So that's her. But each staff member or each receptionist or SMRA, anyone I'm paying by the hour, they update their spreadsheet. What are they updating? So this is Sydney, messages sent. So clock in, clock out, messages sent, responses, new numbers, paid SMRA hours, And then if they're doing any PR calling, that would go in here, clock out time, hours paid. And then, how many hours do we owe her? Boom. Rochelle just trained my virtual assistant on how to do this spreadsheet now. So now my VA updates this, and then we take this and pay her at the end of the week. But what's cool is what we synced up, and this is my beautiful masterpiece here. My virtual assistant, I trained her on how to sync up the pay numbers with this. So therefore, all I have to look at is just this overview. So everything that's on their sheet individually automatically goes over here using this little Google form hack. So that way it just pops up here. So I could look at the overview for the week of what are we getting done as an office? How many hours am I paying out on this spreadsheet? So that's really cool. And then I could see, how much I'm paying out and all that stuff. So this is a really beautiful spreadsheet that I've been working on that one for like 2 years. So it looks great. Yeah, good. It should, because it's been a masterpiece in the making for like 2 years now, year and a half, maybe. This is our December program, maybe 2 more spreadsheets that might be relevant. I'll show you. I already showed you that one. This is our Google form, irrelevant, Canvas messaging, nothing, management questionnaires. No. What is this? So yeah, that's probably all the ones. Oh, training sign in. This one is one that's so we have them do a Google form. Once they hop on Zoom, they fill out a Google form. This is something we just started in October, but it's been game changer for us, is knowing these before they start training. Like, are they in the WhatsApp group and the coaching chats, and did they fill out the better to know you sheet? We have a pre-training call, like just knowing what information I want to know and how much money they want to make. So knowing that information before they start training. So that way, even if a coach is managing Ashley, I don't need to know anything about Ashley, but I could hop on a phone call with her and just know that she did most of her stuff, but she came into training with less than 10 numbers. So I'm going to give her encouragement and help her get excited about the names list talk that's going to happen in training. I'm going to get excited about this. I'm going to talk about this. Day 2, same thing. They sign in. So I know, like, did they do their homework and where are they at with their names and phone numbers in queue? So that way we can have these red flag or yellow flag or white flag conversations with them, during those day 2 PCs, and we could just streamline that conversation. So that's some next level stuff. We spreadsheet everything. Google Forms is now a new course in order to be a manager, in my opinion. And that's everything laid out for you. So
it's pretty crazy.
Last 4 minutes, Trent.
To many of us, it's like we're watching Michelangelo and we're like doing paint by numbers, man. So like this is pretty advanced for a lot of us. And I just want to make sure everybody here remembers too that you're seeing year 16 Mike Abramowitz. All right, he's been running an office for like 13 years here. In fact, if he probably wasn't deeply entrenched there in that Florida area, he'd have probably been promoted to DVC years ago, right? So we've got like one of our top level best career district managers bringing you the goods, and this is over a lifetime of intense introspective study. Mike, if I was to ask you, at what level or income level or even savings number would you invest that somebody start coaching? It doesn't strike me that you would say, hey, you're a brand new district manager, you should be investing thousands of dollars into coaching per se. But at what point would you say, hey, yeah, you crossed the threshold, you should start investing into coaching?
Well, with the expenses are so limited right now, I mean, if you have 3 months of your own personal expenses kind of in your bank account, and then you have maybe 3 months of your business expenses in your bank account, know what those 2 numbers are. I would say maybe you could take an extra $100 to $300 a month. Maybe it's nothing crazy. Maybe it's $1,000 a year, $2,000 a year, because it's not an expense, it's an investment. And if you could really dedicate yourself to invest, here's the thing. To Trent's point, you don't need to spend $1 on personal growth, but if you don't spend money on it, you're not going to value it. YouTube University has everything available to you. Everything you'd ever want, you could go on YouTube and learn it. But if you don't pay for it, you're exchanging time or money or resources or energy for it, you're not going to value it, in my opinion. So that's why if someone wants to talk to me, you got to pay. Why? Because I don't want to waste my damn time talking to someone who's going to take my information and not do anything with it. And I literally wasted an hour of my life. So if you want an hour, you got to pay me $1,000. Not because I'm an egotistical maniac. It's because I want to make sure you value what I'm going to teach you, because I have 20 grand a year invested into the knowledge that I've learned. And if you want my specialized knowledge, I'll give it to you. But if you're not going to use my specialized knowledge, then why the hell do I want to waste my time give it to you? Because the biggest gift you can give back to me is using the stuff you're going to learn. And I think specialized knowledge is something that is so critical. It's so critical.
If we were to thank you, Mike, with reviews for Grab, for example. Now, even if you've not done Grab, I believe we've gotten many of the elements from Grab today. If we wanted to do a review, the same place that I sent the link to buy the book, can they put a review on there?
Please. So my goal, I launched this book in 2015, and it's on, it's been featured on over a dozen podcasts. I was interviewed internationally. So this book is being read on 3 different continents, maybe 4 continents right now, which is pretty awesome. It did reach #1 bestseller status. I just did a relaunch for free. And unfortunately, when I launched in 2015, I didn't ask for any reviews. So we had like 12. So I just did a relaunch. Now we're up to 30. My goal is to get to 100 reviews by the end of the year. That's my thank you. You might say, Mike, why do you need the reviews? Because what happens is, like companies will bring me in to speak to their company, and it's just credibility. It just adds credibility when they're able to see it has this many reviews. It gives me clout, and it says, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. And that would be the biggest gift that I can get, because I want to influence outside of just Vector. So I had John Hoffenberg's company, Yellow Telescope, bring me in, and they just bought books for their entire company. So that was a really awesome gesture. And I'm not going to, say, hey, Vector, buy my book for everyone, but that's why I gave it away for free. But in return, I'd really love for you to at least just, if you get value, if you like me, and if you like the content and you like the message, go on Amazon. You can pick up the ebook. I think it's like $1, maybe $2. If you want to get the hardback, it's a little bit more. But I don't make money on this. Literally every dollar from this book goes to PB&J for Tampa Bay. So every dollar from book sales doesn't go in my pocket. It's just for brand credibility for me. So that way I can continue to evolve my brand and help more companies, not just Vector.
I imagine that the Bay Area Game Changers YouTube's about to get a bit of a bump. I'm hoping we get some reviews on there after today. And Better Than Rich, by the way, as well. I believe that we can follow you right now. Is there a Facebook group we can?
There's a Facebook, also YouTube. There's a YouTube channel, Better Than Rich. There's like 18 episodes already on there, ready for you to check out. A lot of the systematic and the psychology behind what I talked about today.
So, folks, before you ask a question of Mike Abramowitz, make sure you've studied Mike Abramowitz. You can watch him on Vector Connect. You can watch him on YouTube. There will be an audio version of this presentation, although the visuals are pretty great. But, folks, my encouragement to you is to be a student of the business like Mike has. Mike, I'm going to stick around for a few more minutes, but I appreciate you sneaking out of your team meeting with Andrew Evans' blessing. Please thank him again for cutting you loose to be able to be here as well. Lindsay, for investing time into us today. There's a lot of things you could be doing. Thank you for investing into this masterclass and our group as a whole. Last word to you, Mike.
Well, I appreciate you for inviting me to have the space to influence. And I am words of affirmation. So before I leave, can you hit me up, the 40 of you, real fast? Biggest takeaway, biggest light bulb, anything that you liked from today. That just fills me up before I go back into my staff meeting. Biggest takeaway, biggest light bulb, biggest, thing you're going to implement, think differently, something that you can, an actionable step that you're like, I needed to hear that today. Something I needed to hear today that was helpful, that was rewarding, or is going to impact my business. Something along those lines. That'd be awesome. I'm 11 out of 12 words of affirmation over here, just so y'all know. Love it. So I appreciate that.
That's fun. We'll make sure that chat is available, by the way, for download. And the same link that we send out where you can download the video, you can have the audio and the chat. There's going to be a record there for you. So cool. That's fun.
All right. My pleasure, everybody. And
thanks again, Mike. Appreciate you.
Hop off.
And you can check those out, and they'll be archived as well there, Mike, if you've got a jam there. But thank you for posting there in the chat a nugget, thought, or light bulb moment inspired by Mike Abramowitz today. congratulations once again on attending, everybody here. It's really an outstanding movement. We love the core that we've got developing here, and are just excited to continue to bring you outstanding content for the future. Who can tell me who's going to be our masterclass for week 9? Who knows who we got next week? It's another SLC speaker. You can drop it in the chat. Who you got? That is correct. Danny Lewis will be our speaker next week, and there's so much content that Danny could not get into. It's almost like we got the Snyder Cut happening here. Like, so there was the Justice League movie, and then there's the Snyder Cut, which will be like 5 or 6, might even balloon up to 8 episodes, like 1 hour each. So Danny Lewis next week at the Masterclass. That's going to be on the 17th. And then the week of American Thanksgiving here, we're going to have Shayla Way, which we're real excited about. So a Canadian jumping on that grenade there for us. We understand attendance may be a little lower for some of our American friends if you're traveling, but we'll invite you to lunch and learn with us at 1 o'clock Eastern on the 24th as well. So I'll stick around for a little bit, and everybody here has the opportunity to unmute if you would like to connect here. I'm going to hit stop for the recording right now.